Creating this video has been very difficult because I'm just sitting here thinking about what I want to say and like how I want to say it and where do I even start. And it's a little frustrating because then the whole negative thoughts come in, the self-defeating thoughts of don't make it, nobody cares, just don't share it. Because I am very afraid to share it. But so I've been sober now from alcohol for 2 years today, which is September 24th, and it got really bad for me and everyone close to me. So I guess I should start how it happened, how it ended, and then where I'm at now. So the bad and then the good. So I grew up on 5 acres in Washington State, and I guess I don't express it enough to our dad, but I will forever be grateful with how we grew up because it was basically like the Garden of Eden for kids. We had all this land surrounded by forest, and we would make tree forts and we would play, and our mom would grow fruits and vegetables, and then the 4th of July we'd have these big fireworks shows in the backyard, and I mean it's as close to perfect as you can get, like growing up with a big family. This is amazing. And then skipping some of the details, but our parents got divorced when I was about 10 years old. Then our dad had custody of the kids at the time, 7 of 9 of us, 7 brothers and 1 younger sister who was adopted, as our mom really wanted a girl, and then after 8 boys in a row, she's like, okay, I'll just adopt. So parents got divorced, and then in 2001 we moved from Washington State to Arizona. Complete opposites. Essentially heaven to hell. It's extremely hot. And we moved here July 6th, 2001. Literally the worst time you can move here for temperature, because I remember driving to our new home from the airport. It was hot in the car, and then I wanted to feel the cool air. Roll down the window, and it just literally felt like, it feels like you're next to a fire, and the air it's just fire air. Cool. Okay. So we're living in Arizona, and then our mom comes and visits every 3 months or 6 months. And then for 2 years, that kind of happens pretty regularly. And then after 2 years, it was like May 2003. It was me, my younger brother and sister and mom were walking down to the bus stop. So you take the bus to the airport, and then turns out that was the last time we saw her. Just basically disappeared, and then yeah, that was obviously extremely hard going through that. It's kind of like the main and only female figure in your life just leaves, it's gone, and then all the kids were at much different ages, so it affected us based on our age and then based on ourselves individually. And for me, it was it just kind of manifested as like deep self-hatred, and I was thinking about suicide a lot from a young age, like a young teenager. And what's fascinating about my like compared to siblings is like I was never actually upset at her, which was strange. I was kind of mad at my dad because I thought maybe it was his fault, but you know, she's the one who left. So yeah, that really it messed with me in terms of, how do I say it? It's like, it's almost like it's the unconditional love of the mother leaves, and then I lost that in myself, and then it turned to self-hatred, and then ultimately self-destruction with alcohol. So, and then because of that, I literally avoided women. I avoided girls from a young age, like from pretty much like age 13, 14 until 22. So like 8 years I I always said I was a broken individual, and I knew I'm like wasting my time. But then when I was 22, I tried alcohol, and I gotta say, because I was someone with extreme social anxiety, and particularly around like attractive women, and which is interesting. So I remember the first time I was drinking alcohol, it was wine. And just the feeling I got was all of a sudden the anxiety was gone and I felt good. And like I felt like I could interact and talk with people without always having that self-conscious doubt and talking in my mind, like, so it like immediately suppressed that, and I just describe it as like, oh, is this what it's like to feel normal? Like, so I was able to kind of slowly talk with women over time because of the alcohol in person, and then a lot more happened online, talking online. And you know, it's like, I just compare it to like drunk driving. It's like you can be fine for 10 years, fine, drinking. It's like a exponential curve. It's like you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Things get worse, 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 worse. And it's like if you're drunk driving and then you happen to kill someone, mine was basically like that with alcohol, but it was with women and like weird sexual terrible behavior towards the end, in the sense of like literally by the end of it I was sending naked videos of myself masturbating to some kind of random women without their consent, because years before I like worked up the courage to talk to women, and then they would genuinely like who I was, or like, for the most part, you know, minus the alcohol, I guess. Then it just like over time it just takes this dark turn, and by the end of it I even sent videos of myself naked to, it's so hard to say because I can't believe I did it, but I did, to my cousins. And then the worst one was to my grandma. Again, it's like, and I don't even remember, I don't have any memory of really sending it. I do have some memory of like the next day deleting, because I was drinking so much towards the last few years. It's just, it's hard to reconcile and to come to terms that I did that, but I don't fully even understand why. Like, another thing I have to stress is it was entirely my fault. You know, it's I'm not blaming anything or anyone. I'm not trying to put the blame on how I grew up or what happened. I'm just trying to offer that as an explanation and an insight as to how I got to that point. In the same way that people who do terrible things don't just all of a sudden do them. It's over time. There's reasons. And again, I am not excusing anyone's behavior, and especially not my own, but it's just things don't happen just for no reason. There's reasons for it, and then so I take full responsibility, and I'm incredibly sorry for many people that I hurt, and I don't expect any forgiveness. That's not up to me. I just I have to say what I have to say, and then that's it. Where was I going with that? So, and especially towards the end, my best friend since childhood, since I was like 12 years old, he ended up blocking me and no contact at all. I still haven't talked to him, unfortunately. It's been almost 3 years, 2.5 years. I still love him and care about him. He's like another brother to me, for sure. 100%, and in more ways, I'm more close to him than any of my brothers. And towards the very end, he ended up blocking me, and of course, at the time, I was, super angry at him, and I was like, well, blah blah. But he did the right thing. 100%, he did the right thing, because he was watching his best friend kill himself, and I didn't care, and I really didn't, because I was hoping one of those days that I wouldn't wake up, and I really wanted to die. So I guess there's a lot more little details I could say, but so the timing on things is always so strange. I don't think there's any coincidences. I don't follow any organized religion, but Jesus, the real Jesus, seems like an amazing human being, but I don't care for any religion. But I don't think there are any coincidences, the timing on certain things that happen in your life. Like, right around July 2022, which was pretty much the lowest point in my life. And I didn't even mention the few times when I tried to take a little break from alcohol. I went into full-on delirium tremens, and if you just look it up on Wikipedia, it pretty much explains it perfectly. I was hallucinating visually seeing things and hearing things for 3 days straight, couldn't sleep, heart pounding. Like you're having a panic attack for 3 days in a row, and it feels like you're gonna have a heart attack. And when it started to happen, I thought I was schizophrenic. I was like, oh, this explains why our mom left. She became schizophrenic, and she heard voices talking to her, and she had to leave. I was like, oh, I'm starting to see things and hear things. I was like, oh, I'm becoming schizophrenic. A lot of this makes sense now why yeah. But no, I wasn't. I was just delirium tremens. Anyways, July 2022 was the worst month because that was when I sent that video of myself to my grandma again. It doesn't even sound real when I say it because I don't know who that person was who did it. And it's almost like it's almost impossible to forgive yourself unless you think of it as a possession from drug or alcohol, but you chose to be possessed. So it's both. It's your fault, and it's also the substance itself. And that's actually why you ever see beer, wine, and spirits, where you're taking on the spirit of alcohol. And I don't mean that everyone who drinks is going to have the negative side like but you're taking on the spirit of that substance. And it can just lead to extreme darkness and loneliness and death. Living hell. Alcohol is undefeated in the history of humanity. It doesn't lose. So, July 2022 was the month where I sent that to my grandma. And then that same month, a girl messaged me, and short version, we both love each other very much, and she primarily speaks Spanish, knows a little bit of English, and I speak English and know very little Spanish, but yet we understand each other on a deep level. Because technology, we're able to translate and talk. So then a month later, August 19th, 2022, my younger brother, Austan, figured out a clever way to kind of do some reverse detective work on an image that our cousin Tamar somehow got through a private investigator to try to find our mom. And he realized that she lived in Tucson, Arizona. So, brother Austan and sister Mariah, they went down there on a Friday, August 19th, 2022. And there she was. She was living in Tucson. She was living with her new partner, but he had just recently died March of 2022. And that was that was like the best day ever when our brother told us, yeah, she's here and here's her phone number and you can contact her. And I was immediately, right then, I knew I was done with alcohol, because the void that was left in my heart and soul from our mother abandoning us, leaving us, that void led me down a path of alcoholism, and it was temporarily trying to fill the void, and I would feel good, but it was false. So I basically had a mom-shaped hole in my heart, and then when she came back, it was like this switch, and I wanted to die before, and then now I wanted to choose life. And I knew in that moment I was done with alcohol. It just took me another 4 weeks, from August 20th to then September 24th, to actually stop, because there was like a lag. There was like, internally I knew I was done, but I was still drinking, trying to like, the pattern's so engraved, so there's so much momentum, and it was hard to kind of fully put the brakes on. So I ended up it was September 25th in the morning on a Sunday. I could feel myself going through extreme withdrawals already. I was shaking like crazy, and I knew that delirium tremens was going to come back, and I also knew that once you have delirium tremens once, the likelihood of it happening again increases, and the intensity increases, and then basically you just eventually die from it. It just kills you. So I was feeling it more intense, more early, and then so I called 911, ambulance came, I went to the hospital. I was there for 24 hours. Then the lady asked me at the end, was like, there's a detox facility that you can go to, or you can choose to go home. And right there, I'm so glad it was a choice, because I chose to go, and that experience was truly a profoundly healing and beautiful experience being there. I was there for 7 days and just talking with the people, because there was a mixture of people, like half the people, it was like 14 people total. It was like half of them were there because they were forced to, and then like maybe half or more were like me, they're there voluntarily, and you couldn't leave until you were stable. So that was just an amazing, therapeutic, soul purifying, like human connection experience that I really, really, really needed. I was lacking. And so then after that I got out, like it was like October 2nd or 3rd, and then that was it. No more alcohol. That was it. It was I was with that mom-shaped hole, so to speak, in my heart. I was choosing death before. I was literally hoping I would die. And then when she came back in the picture, it was like, I'm choosing life. This is literally the reason I've been waiting for to flip my life around, is her to return. And I didn't even necessarily need her to return. It was more like I just wanted to know if she was alive and I could talk to her. I really think that would have been enough, because 19 years of not knowing from age for me it was age 12 until age 31. Is that right? Yeah, 19 years of not knowing if you're ever going to see her. And but it's been amazing because it's wild. I mean, maybe I'll make another video or something just talking about that in general, but just it's interesting because I have memories of her when I was young, but not like a lot in depth, because she was just the mother. I mean, I have memories, of course, like a lot of specific things, but this was basically my first time meeting her. And I'm just like extremely grateful and extremely forgiving, and just happy that she's back in our lives. And then she even sold her house in Tucson, and she lives literally I can almost point to her house out there, right there in the corner, in the same neighborhood. It's so strange how life works. I mean, and so now it's really fascinating because the thing that was lacking in me the most was obviously the mother, but like the feminine expression in terms of like unconditional love, that kind of thing, and care. Because, you know, I have 7 brothers and I love them all, and they're all great in their own way, but they're all men, and we as men have certain limitations. I think that's another thing. Like growing up without our mom, I was almost like angry and resentful at my dad for not being 2 parents, if that makes sense. It's like, certain things that the mother side wouldn't actually address or take care of, but he did his absolute best. I mean, he worked. I in some sense, I can't even believe how he did it, because he raised 7 kids by himself, working a lot of hours and trying to find ways. And we had periods of, you know, we were really poor and all of us were living in a tiny house and we're on food stamps. And but it's amazing how short-lived the quote-unquote bad parts were, and how overall he managed to provide abundance for his own kids. Like, those are the kinds of things I could never appreciate while I'm growing up. But now, it's like heroic. That's what it is. And my dad's dad is truly amazing. And so yeah, what I was gonna say was lacking the feminine, and then like basically within the same month I got this girl who's now my girlfriend. She lives in South America. She's Chilean. So I got like this from two angles. This all of a sudden the feminine that I needed appeared. Super loving, understanding, supportive, responsible, smart, beautiful, intelligent woman. Somehow I'm lucky enough to be with her. It's just crazy to me still. And then the next month, my mom returns. And then it's like just a complete shift in me, like what I was missing, and the trauma. And anyways, as a little side throughout all this is the only kind of work I ever did was through the family. Like, it was like construction, because my dad owned his own swimming pool company, and so like me and another brother would go do construction type work. And then before that I was doing pool maintenance with a different brother, and then towards the end I was designing like 3-dimensional pools on a program. I had never worked a regular job in my life, and I never thought I would. I never wanted to. I was always avoiding it. I always wanted to make money online. Always, from a young age. I just thought, well, two things. I never cared about money. I was never driven by money, ever. The only reason I wanted money is because it's required to exist in life. Like, I've always said from a young age, the only reason I want to be rich, and that's not even that much for me, is to help other people. Like, I don't care about personal, material wealth. Never have. It's just empty to me, and it's another addiction. But anyways, I never worked a regular job. So what's all the good stuff? So in 2 years, well, I've been sober completely. Health is better. I've apologized to my grandma 1 year ago today. And just thankfully she did forgive me. And it's funny, she said my one wish for you before I die is for you to get a job. and she's 90 years old. And well, I did get a job. I've been there for nearly 3 months, and I like it overall. I'm basically responsible for creating boxes using 2 machines, like just boxes. You take sheets of cardboard and I run it through the one machine to cut the length and the width, get like the measurements and dimensions, and then through another machine you punch in the dimensions of the box. It punches the holes, and then I fold it, and then I glue, and then I make like hundreds of those a day for a small company. It's nice. Pay is kind of low, but I'm kind of working by myself. That's cool. I can listen to stuff while I'm working, zone out. It's pretty physical, so like I'm in really good physical shape. Yeah, there are positives for sure. I'm just grateful for the opportunity and where I'm at now. I can actually pay for my own rent consistently by myself and all the other bills. It's just a good feeling, and I never would have thought I'd be like this, a little over 2 years ago. Never. You hear that saying, seeing is believing, and I've heard the opposite is more true. Believing is seeing. If you believe all the bad stories and all the negative things you tell yourself and the limitations you put on yourself and the victim type stuff and this person did that and I'll never be good enough, I'll never make enough money, I'll never work a job, then it's true. That's the crazy funny, it's like the dark humor of it all. It's like, ultimately, everyone's doing it to themselves. I was doing it to myself. It's like, the bad news is, I was doing it to myself. The good news is, I did it to myself. That means I can change. And it's great. You go from this mentality of life happens to you to life kind of happens through you or by you. And then just today I also an appointment and I got my passport, and there's my picture, and it looks, and there I am, passport. So I gotta wait 6 to 8 weeks and I can go visit and live with my girlfriend, May, who I love very much, deeply, and that'll be in January. So it's very difficult for me to start this video and make it, but then it's very, very long. I'm just grateful if even one person watches it. That's it. Thank you.